Yeah, I mean, we're up to 96% of the vote in, or the precincts reporting, a couple of days out. This obviously went better than Iowa, depending on how you measure it. Some people were pointing out that actually, by midday yesterday, the Iowa Democratic Party had already reported more precincts reporting than Nevada did, but I think it just felt better somehow because we were getting sort of regular updates. Also, I think there was a psychic preparedness for what we were facing now. There was that sort of just shock of nothing um, from Iowa. But what we also saw is, I think, that really made the difference is the first batch of votes that we got was around 8 o'clock Eastern. That was 5 hours after the caucuses had started. And what that enabled everyone to do was one, call the race for Bernie Sanders because it was clear all along that he was going to be the winner. And in that first tranche, he was certainly well ahead. But also, what it really enabled everybody to do was to come out and make their speeches in prime time. If you recall, in Iowa, by the time we found out that we weren't going to be getting any votes, it was like 11, 12 o'clock. So this had a more traditional feel to it, even though it wasn't necessarily a large count of the vote, but it was representative enough that it got everybody to where they wanted to be. So here we are, almost 2 days later. We're finding out that turnout's about 96,000 people so far, which kind of puts it in the middle range between 2008 and 2016. There's the questions about, even with the early voting, what this might have been without it. And there was 75,000 people voted early, so 20,000 or so on election day or caucus day. Not a huge turnout, also because Nevada is a quick growing state, so you might think just general population growth would get you something, but caucuses are tough, even if you have those 3 or 4 days of early voting. Sanders is winning big. He's doing well in the popular voting, which doesn't entirely matter directly on the first and second alignments, but he is definitely walking away with the county convention delegates, and also the national. Our projections are 19 delegates for Sanders, Joe Biden 9, and Pete Buttigieg has 2 so far. There are several, obviously, that still have to be allocated once we get to the 100% threshold. Because even if you look at the top line statewide levels, you can see who's breaking the threshold, but it changes at each of the 4 congressional districts. So that's why we're not really able to call them all quite yet. I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts? Anything stand out, shock, surprise you? I mean, Biden looks like he's coming in second, but I don't think he's going to get a huge sort of puff of wind at his back out of it. Do you?
I think the tone was set with Pete going back and forth between the 15% threshold. I think that's going to be our discussion for the next 10 days as we look at the Super Tuesday states, is where people like Pete, Warren, Klobuchar, they're going to be flirting with 15% thresholds in states like Texas and California where they award it by CD. It's going to be crazy.
Yeah, I think another point thinking about it was, unlike say on New Hampshire night, there were really no surprises, despite all of the popular commentary surrounding the difficulty of polling in for the Nevada caucus, and it's a transient population. There are districts with large Hispanic populations, et cetera. There are like a number of pretty well documented reasons why polling is difficult, but the overall polls looked pretty accurate. So just even Real Clear Politics. The Real Clear Politics average had Sanders at 32.5. Right now he's walking away with 34. The average had Buttigieg at 16. He walked away with 15.3. And so I think part of the reason why maybe even why there's just not a lot of overwhelming takeaways from it is this was pretty much landed exactly how people were expecting. Where in New Hampshire, Amy Klobuchar outperformed her polling expectations by a long shot, and so that's why she was quite a bit of a story coming out of that race. But there didn't seem to be too many surprises. Would you agree with that, Drew?
Yeah, exactly. The only one, maybe there was a little boomlet that maybe Steyer would do something. There was
That's
some
true.
polling a couple of weeks ago where he was, shooting up to third place. That didn't materialize. I wouldn't say that's necessarily a surprise, but that was sort of the only thing that kind of came and went that I was looking for to see if that was actually happening, because he had spent so much money compared to some of the other candidates there. But a caucus is different, as we keep saying, and that's about organization and about your ability to turn people out and then being excited about you. And that's clearly something Bernie Sanders was able to capitalize on. We also saw the split between the Culinary Union and its leadership and its members. And that was something actually Sanders made reference to in his victory speech, where he was very clear and pointed when he said, he was grateful for the support of union membership, which was obviously a little dig. But yeah, other than that, and whatever Warren may have gotten out of her evisceration of Mike Bloomberg was certainly blunted by the fact that, 75,000 of the 90 something thousand votes were already cast. So it came a little late. There will be a debate tomorrow night, I believe it is, in South Carolina, which is not a heavy early voting state. So if somebody has a moment, that may show up there. But no, I think you're right that there wasn't a lot of surprises out of this.
Yeah, either moments or lack of moments, as we learned out of the last one, which I think everybody's just still waiting to see what the effects of Michael Bloomberg's debate debut actually has on some of the outcomes that we're expecting. But again, he's sitting out yet another state at the beginning, so we haven't had the opportunity to see whether or not these the money, which is turning into poll numbers, whether or not that turns into actual votes